many open world video games in the market. This is kind of a topic that always gets brought up as gamers continuously talk about an oversaturated amount of open world video games that are available right now. And you really think about this, since 2011, really since the release of Skyrim and Grand Theft Auto 5, this has been a continuous push for more and more developers to implement open world into their video games. It was something that had been done here and there before, but more and more games that come out are going open world. The problem with open world games is they are a one huge, massive time sink. And while you're always going to have developers that are going to compete against each other for the next open world experience and to get that sell, like Shadow of War and Assassin's Creed Origins have been going hand in hand. You have people who anticipate both. You have people who have bought both. You have people who don't have the money to buy both and had to prioritize one. There are people who want to pick up both titles, but maybe they went with Assassin's Creed Origins because Assassin's Creed was their favorite series. Maybe they went with Shadow of War because they were really impressed with the first Shadow of War. So these companies do lose sales. It's called competition. But there are so many games out there that have implemented this that people aren't being able to keep up. One of the biggest problems that I have with Assassin's Creed, I haven't played an Assassin's Creed game since the first Assassin's Creed. Here was the problem. When I had first played the first Assassin's Creed, I got burnt out on the game. I absolutely didn't really want to play the second one at the time that it was released, because that's when I had first picked up that title. Okay, whatever. I'll wait a little bit before I continue going on and playing Assassin's Creed. It's not like there's going to be another game to come out. Well, here's in turn what happened. Around the time that I wanted to get into Assassin's Creed 2 and hop into Assassin's Creed 3, we had Assassin's Creed Brotherhood that was released. We had Assassin's Creed Revelations. This isn't including the title for the DS or the PSP that were out at the time. Assassin's Creed 3 had then come out. I was already 4 games deep at the time that Assassin's Creed 3 had come out. Assassin's Creed Black Flag came out. Then we had Assassin's Creed Unity and Assassin's Creed Rogue and Assassin's Creed Syndicate and Assassin's Creed Origins, Assassin's Creed Freedom Cry, Assassin's Creed China, Assassin's Creed India, Russia. By the point of time that all these games started coming out, I took a look at all these games and went, whoa, stop right there. Whoa. I'm not getting into the Assassin's Creed series ever, because Assassin's Creed are open world games. Those are huge time sinks. At this point, it would take me 4 years of non-stop playing that shit to get through each and every single one of those games. And that's just not an investment that I want to make. Well, some might say, well, you could play them without the story, but there are those of us who like the story in video games, and to understand what's going on, to get a full enjoyment out of those, I would have to go back and replay each and every single one of those titles, starting from Assassin's Creed 2. And at this point, with all those titles out that have something to do with the story, why bother? We'll play the Ezio trilogy. Again, that's 4 games, even if I just stopped at Assassin's Creed 3. Why bother? In order to understand that story. That's kind of where I sit with the Assassin's Creed franchise. Then you have Watch Dogs and Watch Dogs 2. Both look like exciting games. Both may have nothing to do with each other. But nonetheless, it's like, throw that into Ubisoft's mix of Assassin's Creed. People who want to play both, they're tuckered out of them. We have games like The Witcher that have come out that everybody is talking about. There's another game that I haven't gotten around to playing. Why? Because Metal Gear Solid 5, by the time I got around to wanting to play The Witcher 3, there were too many other games coming out that I actually cared about. Gamers tend to prioritize what they're going to play. This is the biggest problem that a lot of people have with huge open world experiences, is there's only so much time, so many hours, and so much money to go around to buy these. Now, another thing that I think why people are bringing this up, are there too many open world games? Are we seeing a decline in open world games? Is because it feels like everything has been done before. There's really been nothing that has come out in the market and innovated it over the past couple years. The two games that a lot of people have really been arguing have hit home the open world, and yes, I'm sorry Horizon Zero Dawn fans to say it, but we have The Witcher 3, which pretty much took storytelling in an open world to a whole new level and rose it above all of the others, showing that you can still tell a great narrative and have an expansive open world for players to explore and make each and every one of those side quests feel memorable, innovative, and feel like they add a little bit of piece to that world that you may have not actually gotten had you not completed that side quest. And the other one is The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. And this is a game I've actually yet to play myself, both The Witcher 3 and that, but from what I've heard from both of those is that they challenge players to approach things sometimes in a very different way. When it comes to open world, your experience, the way you play the game, becomes the story in itself. This was the case for me in Metal Gear Solid 5. But we could really argue at this point that those two games alone have pretty much hit the peak of what open world games are going to be. Those are going to be the two games that people are going to take a look at and say, okay, how can we make this better? Until then, you're going to have developers who push out a mediocre game, and that's the coattail that it rides. And then they may sit there and wonder, well, why didn't our game sell as well? Why wasn't it as critically acclaimed as that? Because there wasn't the love that went into it. You tried too hard to capitalize on what made that game special. Sometimes you just need to take a step back, take a look at it, and go, you know what? We could make an open world game, but let's make something more story-based, more linear, something more of an approach, more of a passion project, rather than trying to pump out titles to create an open world experience for people to go. This is something that we saw with a lot of Japanese RPGs back in the PlayStation 2. We had so many Japanese RPGs coming out that were oversaturating the market, not enough time to play them. Because Japanese RPGs, though a lot of them very linear, very story-based, they still sink up a lot of time, especially for those people who like to go through and explore everything there is to explore. There's a slew of amazing titles that were on the PS2 that came from the Japanese RPG era, but my gosh, there was not enough time to play them. Another big problem that a lot of people have, or had this with, was first-person shooters. You had so many first-person shooters coming into the market. Bam, one right after another, right after another, right after another. And not all of them were great. Not all of them stepped up and really innovated the series. The two biggest ones that get the high praise amounts for changing the way that video games had done things were Halo 3 and Modern Warfare. Those were the two big names that people really praised. I would throw Modern Warfare 2 into the mix just because I know a lot of people who thought that that was a step up from the original Modern Warfare game. But first-person shooters have slowly started to die out. Why? Because simply too many of them came out at the same time and no one really stepped up to really innovate it. No one really stepped up to change the way that things were done. And this happens when you have so many developers pushing through titles to sell on what's popular at the time. And then we have people who play games that may be a damn good game, a really great game, but because they've played 50 other first-person shooters, that may be the one they're like, you know what, screw it, done, I've had it, I'm tired of playing these games, they're the same damn thing, this game is a piece of garbage, I'm moving on to something else. And it may not be a piece of garbage, it may be something a year from now that had they sat down and played after taking a break for them, they may have really enjoyed. But because of all that time they had put into it, it's something that they couldn't. This is something that really happens with video games, it happens with forms of media, it happens with entertainment, and the bubble is eventually going to bust. You're eventually going to see people go, you know what, these are all becoming the same thing. Superhero movies are eventually going to hit that peak where they're like, I'm done. And I think some of us are already feeling that way with the amount of superhero movies that are coming out. It's all business, game, and tactics. What's popular now isn't going to be popular in the future. A hard push for multiplayer is eventually going to crumble. A hard push for multiplayer games. There are actually so many multiplayer games on that market for that is eventually going to burst as well. We have so many developers implementing multiplayer that I think eventually gamers are going to go, you know, I want to play something more single player. Time is going to change everything. And developers need to be prepared for this. They can't strictly continue to make the same game over and over, or we see what happened to the Japanese market, or we see what happened to the platformer market. And platformers are making a comeback. If you've realized recently, Yooka-Laylee, A Hat in Time, Super Mario Odyssey, Ratchet and Clank, Cuphead, they are slowly and surely coming back into phase, and people are starting to play platformers yet again. We've also seen an increase of the survival horror games as of late because people are wanting to pick up those and play more of those as time stands. So guys, this is kind of, it is what it is. And it's something that I've wanted to get off my chest for quite a while. So it begs to ask the question, guys, I want to hear your thoughts and your opinions on this, because at the end of the day, I can't talk about this alone. People need to get their words out. So do you think open world titles are oversaturating the market? Do you think developers need to stop the brakes on that train and go, whoa, wait a minute. Let's not release so many of these games all at once. Let's not put all of our eggs in one basket and rely on one huge project when we can kind of spread them out and spread out smaller games over the course of the year so people have more time to play them. I want to hear your thoughts, your opinions, so let me know down below. Be sure to hit subscribe there for me to keep updated with all of my content. You can follow me on Facebook and Twitter. Links down below in that description box, along with all of my other social media. And most importantly, guys, stay happy, be happy, game happy. Spoony Bard is checking out.